Good evening, everyone. This is the first session of the course Innovation and Technology Management. We are going to talk about the basics of innovation and what is innovation and why it matters. In this course, we are going to use two books. The first one is Managing Innovation, Integrating Technological, Market, and Organizational Change. This book is written by Joe Pitt and John Besson. And the second book is a Harvard Business School Press. It's the Innovators Toolkit, 10 Practical Strategies to Help You Develop and Implement Innovation. Well, these two books form our core readings. One is more theoretical, the other one is more practical, and I hope you find them useful. Well, there are 5 key elements in innovation. One is innovation, why it matters, where it happens, when it happens, and who makes it happen. Innovation, as defined by OECD, is the implementation of a new or significantly improved product, service, process, a new marketing method, or a new organizational method in business practices, or even workplace organization. Therefore, it covers the aspects of product innovation, service innovation, process innovation, and marketing innovation. Innovation is not only about simply having an idea. For example, when you look at the old history, when Wilbur and Orville talked about the idea of flying, Wilbur said, I have a great idea. What if we could fly? And Orville says, great idea, but how can we fly? Wilbur says, we need to build the machine. And Orville agrees, wonderful, let's do it then. So this simple story tells us about that innovation starts with a new idea, a great idea. And it ends up when this idea is materialized, is turned into a reality. Therefore, we have to make distinctions between ideation, invention, and innovation. Ideation is the generation of new ideas, or the theoretical conception for a future innovation, while invention is about moving these ideas into physical realities. And this happens through technical implementation, which requires the commitment of organizational resources. But innovation is even more than this. When you turn idea into invention, you need to commercialize it. You need to sell it in large numbers. And innovation is about making these inventions work commercially. So there should be a success in the market, a successful commercialization of an invention or technology. So if you have the idea, if you have the technology, but you cannot sell your technology, then you don't have innovation. Innovation is a process of turning opportunity into new ideas and of putting these into widely used practices. Therefore, there are 3 pluses here: idea plus implementation plus commercializations. Innovation is not necessarily a rocket science. It can happen gradually. It can encompass incremental improvement in shape, in efficiency, in functions, in taste. There are 4 dimensions of innovation space: product and service innovation, which talks about changes in things; process innovation, which talks about changes in the ways in which they are created. So product innovation is about how to improve the product, how to make a new product. Process innovation has to do how we are going to make this product more efficiently, reduce the cost of production, or make the production faster, or use fewer number of employees. Position innovation has to do with changes in the context in which the product services are introduced. It has to do with repositioning of a brand or product. And paradigm innovation changes in the underlying mental models which frame what organization does. This is a diagram which you find in the book written by Jyoti and Besant. And you see that we have mental model or paradigm on the top, position at the bottom, left is process, and right is product or service. And innovation happens in all these four spaces, and it goes from very incremental to radical. And according to Lundwall, most of the innovations are incremental innovations. So, when we talk about innovations in products and processes, and we want to differentiate between incremental and radical innovations, we are talking about a slight changes or industry changes. A very good example of a radical innovation in terms of product innovation is digital camera. When digital camera was invented and successfully commercialized, it changed the picture of the industry, photography industry, because people stopped buying films. Factories stopped producing films. The way the films were appeared changed. It was not about the dark rooms, it was about a machine, a digital machine, which helped the photographer to have his pictures appeared. It also has to do with the machine itself. Everybody could use these digital cameras easily. So many companies went out of business and many companies entered the business. The whole industry underwent a revolution. So incremental has to do with little improvement, like Windows Vista replacing XP, while radical innovation is when digital camera replaces the analog system and the old system. Haagen-Dazs, the ice cream for grown-ups, maybe is a very good example of position a space. When innovation happens in a product, which is ice cream, and this ice cream was originally for kids, but Haagen-Dazs comes up by repositioning the concept of ice cream. It's an ice cream for adults. So adults develop a good sense of ice cream. So in the minds of the customers, you reposition how they perceive a product. And this is a very strong marketing tool. And this defines the innovation which happens in the space of position, in the marketing domain, in repositioning your product in the mind of your customers so that they buy them. Paradigm innovation is shift in the underlying paradigms. A very good example of paradigm innovation is Henry Ford. There was a time when cars, automobiles, were used by a certain class of people, by rich people. It was a luxury item. But when Henry Ford made a mass production of automobiles, cars, everyone could afford a car, afford buying a car. So Henry Ford changed the paradigm. It was a paradigm shift in how we use cars. And it was considered an innovation in the domain of product innovation and in the space of paradigm shift. Why should we innovate? If you look at the history after World War II, many advances in technology changed and uplifted the standard of living. Innovation and technological progress are key to economic growth. The more and better you produce, the more employment is there, the more money is generated, the more jobs are created, and apparently the GDP grows. Innovation is also a virtue in a sense that if you come up with a very good hospital for children, it's a social innovation. You increase the quality of life of children. You give them health. So it's a good thing. It's a virtuous thing. Innovation ensures that you have economic growth constantly, and it's a process that should not be stopped. It's an ongoing process. It's not that you do innovation once and then you see, I'm done with it, it's over. No. Companies like Google, Apple, IBM, these are the Mercedes, Benz, BMW, these are the companies which are involved in innovation process every minute of the day. If they stop, they die. They go out of business because competitors will not stop. And also innovation is fun. Look at Disneyland. Look at video games. Look at all these special effects in the movies. So innovation, on the one hand, is a commercialized technology which solves the problem. And on the other hand, is a commercialized technology which provides you with fun. So these are strategic advantages of innovation listed here. I just go through some. When you have innovation, when you have an innovative company, you come up with novelty in the process, for example. You offer something in ways others cannot match. If you can get an order to produce a car half of the time of your competitor, customers come to you because they value their time. So this novelty in the process of production of an automobile, which is this much shorter and faster, will give you a competitive edge. Therefore, innovation has a strategic advantages, gives you a strategic edge over your competitors. When you use a technology which is so advanced and which is so difficult to copy, so you enjoy a lot of margin because you are producing a product, you are producing a machine which is technologically advanced, cannot be easily copied. So at least for a couple of years, between 3 to 5 years, you enjoy a lot of profit. And by that time, the technology is becoming obsolete or older. People learn how to copy, they do reverse engineering. But you have a good head start. So this is what happens if you stop innovation. We come up with a computer like this picture, but it stays the same. But if we continue innovation, we will get to this model. This means innovation is a continuous process. Innovation can pamper us with advanced technology. Innovation offers a dry, comfortable seat after a heavy rain. You see the handle here? This is how innovation works. Simple. little bit incremental innovation, but offers you comfort. Also safety here. Look at this one. How the car is stopped. Because if there's a small light, they might pass it. But with this one, they don't have a choice. They have to stop. This is so obvious. And also here, this is the blind spot. Normally you don't see this, but with this glass, you can see that. So innovation also offers safety. These are all about the benefits of innovation. Who innovates? Only technicians? Or only bosses? Colleagues? Everyone. Everyone innovates in the organization. From blue-collar worker to white-collar worker, from floor employee to top manager. Well, what are the characteristics of innovators? They are normally unconventional people. They are the people who think outside the box. They are irritating. They irritate you because they are always coming up with new ideas. They rock your safety shorts. They have high tolerance of ambiguity. And they always have this attitude that won't work versus let's try it one more time. They always want to try one more time. They don't accept failure. They don't accept defeat. They enjoy failure in a sense that it gives them the opportunity to try one more time. They are visionary. They have exactly a vision, a goal, the place they want to go to. Maybe not now, but in the future. They are very good team players. They work in groups. They let mistakes happen, but they learn from the mistakes. They don't forget the mistakes. They don't repeat the mistakes. They learn from them. They communicate openly with each other. They solve the problems together. Their goal is to solve a problem, not to create a problem. They are committed to their ideas. If it's a difficult idea to happen, they are committed. They work hard for it. They are persevering. They have a priority to translate the idea into a competitive product. This is what they want to do. They earn your trust because they're hardworking people. They're smart. You trust them. They have a good sense of conscience. They are patient. They are stubborn in a sense that they don't take a no for an answer. They fight for it. Why no? I can make it happen. They are always prepared for the worst case scenario in a tactful manner. They are diplomatic. They're not in a sense that when they have an idea, they want to achieve it. They want to make it. They want to make a prototype. They're diplomatic. They're political. They know how to approach the manager. They know how to approach the people who can make a difference in their project. They are self-critical. They critique themselves. They critique themselves because they don't want to fool themselves. They are all good, a good all-rounder. They have a holistic approach. They see the details, but they also see the big picture. They create need. They satisfy need. They create market. They satisfy market. And they share the knowledge in the team. Where innovation takes place. Only in big boss's office, only in assembly line, only in the field of manufacturing, everywhere. Innovation is not a strictly controlled event. It can happen anywhere inside or outside the organization. A new idea can be formed everywhere. But when? Anytime. The answer is anytime, because you cannot determine a specific time for your employees or for yourself to be creative. Although one knows that if you're tired, you may not be very creative. Somebody's mind is more active in the morning than somebody other's mind, which is active, for example, in the afternoon. But generally speaking, any time is a good time to be creative, to generate ideas, and to get involved in innovation process. It is a relentless, endless, limitless process. In the past, it was not an imperative, but you could come up with a new product and sell it for 20 years. Now it is an imperative. It is an indispensable part of any kind of business activity, because if you do not innovate today, people go past you. They innovate, they produce better products, they produce cheaper products, they produce improved products, and customers will prefer them to you. Innovation in organizational context is a matter of a collection of actors, employees, plus managers, plus the organization itself. And then it leads to successful innovation projects. Therefore, managers play a critical role here by motivating employees, by supporting employees, by appreciating every little step they take towards making a significant strides towards innovation, by being tolerant if employees make mistakes or waste some resources, but they have a very positive intention in mind, and they try to learn from their mistakes. Managers support them with a very tolerant attitude. Therefore, top management should support innovation from the scratch, and this is the role of a manager as a trendsetter. Top management should get involved from the very beginning steps. They should believe in the fact that every idea counts, so that they do not ignore simple ideas. Rather, they help employees to work on their simple ideas in order to turn them into very great ideas. They manage the idea pipeline from generation to implementation and commercialization stage. They know what are the key fields for the new product or service development. Hence, they can make the right decision. Top management create the right atmosphere. Atmosphere is very important. It's like the culture of innovation. Climate, supportive climate. Everybody values coming up with new ideas. Everybody wants to support the other employee to put forward the idea. Emotions here are important. Your passion for your job. In this climate of innovation, everybody is passionate about what he's doing. He's passionate because he receives a lot of attention from the superiors, from the peers. And they see that they are doing something good, they are being appreciated for that. The structures of these organizations, managers try to lax the structures. It's not very bureaucratic or hierarchical. It's a structure which allows informal communication, which allows horizontal communications. Top management is a motivating person. Is a person who takes every employee seriously. Is a person who asks for the commitment of employees, but employees listen to this demand because they are respected. They see their managers can bear with their mistakes. And this manager should create a network of innovators. All the mechanisms which should be in place in the organization to link employees together. Top managers should find, actually, this is what I want to hear say that is a market need. Innovation should be understood by managers as a long-term process. If a manager is looking for short-term results, he or she is not going to be patient. He or she is not going to withstand, to bear the failures. He or she sees every failure as a waste, not as a bridge to success. So they should have the mentality that innovation results happen a little bit late, but this is the only way to go about that. It's not a short-term thing. For this, they need to ensure a structured process, a transparent one, where employees and managers can fully understand each other and fully participate in decision making together, so that these decisions are being respected. If one project, innovation project, is receiving an answer of no, these employees should understand why their project is not accepted, so that they are not demotivated. And when another project is accepted to be taken forward, then they don't feel really disappointed. They say that, okay, our project wasn't accepted because of this and that, this and that. So we are going to help the other guys with a more successful project, with a more promising project, and all these forces are joined together. Who possesses innovation ideas in the organization? Within the organizations, employees are the best source of innovation. And of course, the fact is, good ideas really come from a few employees. That's because some employees are more experienced, they have more expertise, they are more motivated. So we cannot expect everyone, but we should respect everyone and support everyone, so that the number of these employees increase over time. What measures trigger employee-driven innovation? What really triggers this employee involvement is a systematic search to find innovative employees and innovative ideas. You should accord employees freedom to think and pursue their ideas. We should not let them burn out. They should have a load of work which also allows them to think while doing the job, not only do the job like a machine. They need to be responsible, to have the sense of responsibility and be accountable. When you give someone responsibility, the person feels important, so not only tries to do the job in a very well manner, he or she also thinks, okay, I'm responsible for this job. I have a responsibility. How can I improve it so that I look better in the organization? You need to involve employees to the day-by-day business. Do not exclude them. Just tell them that they are not good. They are simple employees, so they are not supposed to think. They are not supposed to be involved in decision-making. No, they need to be involved. And this involvement not only concerns your own unit, but you should do cross-functional cooperations. So the ideas, the expertise flow inside the organization. Top down, bottom up, left, right. We should not really seclude employees from one another. Diversity is very important here, so that everybody comes up with a new approach to handling a problem. And they should enjoy while working together. That's why enjoyable work atmosphere is a key. We need to find out, detect the very experienced employees and put them to work at headquarters and vice versa. We need to let very experienced employees travel through the organization so that other employees can learn from their experiences. We need to also raise employees' curiosity. Innovators have to stay curious, and we should teach employees how to evaluate and fight for the ideas. Innovation is a matter of vision, risk, failure, emotions. Short-term thinking has fatal consequences. So short-term thinking is opposite of having a vision. Therefore, innovation in the long run requires a visionary leader, a leader who sees beyond the immediate horizons, embarks upon new paths, has the courage to attempt new solutions. He does not just think about tomorrow, also about the day after tomorrow and the days to come after. This means sustainability, survival, staying in competition. So a team with a shared vision is unstoppable because they are courageous and the vision is shared, so they have the support of the team members. They all go through the same direction. They all pull towards the same goal because the vision is shared. And they support each other. And they're unstoppable. This leads to success. Innovation has to do with emotions as well. The energy, enthusiasm, inspiration, all has to do with how passionate you are about what you're doing. How passionate you are about your idea. And of course, innovation is risk. But it's a calculated risk. You need to manage this risk. Numerous surveys of companies show that over 90% of all new ideas never make it to the market. Only less than 5% are real success. Therefore, instead of penalizing the failure of innovation project, you should reward employees for quickly helping to clarify whether an innovative concept should be promoted or terminated. Don't be hard on employees as being part of the problem. Make them part of the solution instead. Prize for the most successful failure because it is an art. It is an art to stop failure at the time you recognize it's not going to work really. Not to have the obsession that everything works. No, sometimes fail. So failing successfully can provide valuable know-how that might prove useful in future projects. Well, now we move on to the next session, which has to do with innovation as a core process in your organization. Well, innovation is a core business process, and this process involves 4 major steps: searching, selecting, implementing, and learning. In the old book, which was written by Tate, Besson, and Pavitt, and peace be upon Pavitt because after this version of the book, Pavitt died, and therefore the new version of the book does not have Pavitt on board. And in the old version of the book, we have this diagram: search, select, implement, and the learning which happens all through the way. And then in the new book, we have the new diagram, improved diagram, which has search, select, implement, and capture. Now let's look at the simple representation of the innovation process and see what each of these stages mean. Searching means scanning the environment, and this environment, it can be internal environment of your organization, and it can be external environment for processing relevant signals about threats and opportunities for change. So when we talk about idea generation and the idea plus implementation plus commercialization, these ideas must come from somewhere. So in the search process, we are looking for these ideas. While in the selecting process, we need to decide which of these ideas are worthwhile on the basis of a strategic view of how the enterprise can best develop and can best benefit from these ideas. When you see an opportunity in the market, for example, in a market of, let's say, mobile phone, you see an opportunity that people are making preferences towards a, let's say, a kind of phone which can also be connected to the radio of the automobile through the wireless radio waves. This is an opportunity, certainly, that you can see, does this opportunity really provide a fit between our strategic objectives? Are we really ready to compete with those companies which are moving toward that direction? So, or for example, if you are producing mobile phones which are based on a low-cost strategy, and if you want to add this function to these phones, so it makes your phones, the final goods, more expensive. Do you really want to change your low-cost strategy and go towards a high-cost strategy? So selection has to do with a strategic fit, with your resources, and these decisions should be made. Not every opportunity is an opportunity you can invest. You have to find the right opportunities for you, which suits you best. And implementation has to do with translating these potential and trigger the idea into something new and launch it within your market. Sometimes in the launch process, you need to create a new market. You need to tap a new market. And this is when you have innovation within innovation. You have a new product, and then you have marketing innovation. You need to find a new market. It is another innovation itself. So implementation has acquiring element, acquiring the knowledge source resources to enable the innovation, creating something new through R&D, for example, executing the project under conditions of uncertainty, which require extensive problem solving. You'll need to launch the innovation and managing the process of initial adoption, because this innovation is going to be adopted in the market. And also sustaining adoption. People should keep buying your product. You should keep offering the product, the after-sales services and everything. And then re-innovation happens in this stage as well. at the end, which is not really an end, because learning means that enterprise have but not have the opportunity to learn from progressing through this cycle. So that you need to learn from your mistakes at every stage, searching, selecting, implementing, and this learning should be distributed to all other departments as well. So you do not repeat your mistakes as the time goes by. Now, there are certain considerations here. In service versus product industry, although innovation in services and product industry are slightly different, because a product is a tangible item, a service is intangible. You can touch your laptop, but a service like a haircut is very intangible. It's the art of the hands of the barber. How can you react the same? If your laptop is broken, you change your laptop. You go to the company, you send it back. You say, this is problematic. I received it with a lot of defects. Change it for me. They change it for you. You get a new laptop. If you want to make improvements, you can do it in the laboratory. But what about a haircut? If your haircut is bad, what do? Can you change it to the barber and say, go back in time and do something else? No. If you want to get a new haircut and you don't know really this haircut looks nice on your hair, what do? You cannot try it because this is your head. This is a handwork. Even if the new haircut you pick from a magazine looks nice on the head of the model, it doesn't guarantee that it looks nice on your head. And this is service. And sometimes service and product are so mixed together, like an airline. You are flying, you're buying tickets, it's a service. It's a service that takes you from, for example, Toronto to New York. It's a service. But if the chair of the airplane, if the seat is not comfortable, if the meal on the plane is not delicious, if the stewardess treats you impolitely, if the captain is bad, and you experience a lot of turbulences, your service is ruined, not because of the fact that you are not anymore in New York. You arrive in New York from Toronto, your service is completed, but you're not happy because of the products, which are so mixed with the service. So these days, these are all the considerations you have to take into account when you are innovating. But an overall process of managing innovation, overall process is more or less the same. Because if you want to improve your service or your product, you need new ideas, because innovation process feeds on new ideas. And searching for new ideas is the same in both product industry and service industry. Other considerations, for example, team size. When you have a small company, you see the opportunity in the market. You can flexibly and rapidly respond to this opportunity because you have only what? 2 managers when your company has 20 employees and you are in the IT business, you want to write a new software, you need only 2 people maximum to write a software, or maybe 1. You have a manager and you have 2 software writers. So you can respond very fast to this opportunity. On the other hand, If you're a small company, you want to write a huge software, you don't have enough resources. If you want to write a software which can be used for Microsoft, you need to hire more people. You need more computers. You need more developed equipment. You need more money. So your resources limits you to respond to the opportunity. So normally, the larger the firm, the more innovative the firm is. Of course, it depends on sectors and industries as well. So firm size is another consideration. National, regional, and local context. Innovation. Of course, you want to be innovative as a company, but the context is also very important because the roads from your company to suppliers and to market are not built by you, they are built by government. It is the government which invests in education so that when you want to hire people, you hire very good people. In some countries, when the government does not have a very good planning for educating people, your company has a problem of finding the right people to assign them to the right tasks. So financial support, if you have an idea, you want, in some countries like UK, they have a very good tax cut system. If you invest in R&D, in fact, you are exempt from paying taxes. So this is a support that government provides, not your company. So the system, which is known as National Innovation System, if it's supporting, your company can innovate better. If it's not supporting, you're in a pickle. You're in trouble. Regional clusters, supply chains, product development consortia, and strategic alliances are all important matters. You have an R&D. You link your R&D department, research and development department, to 5 companies' research and development departments, and you create a pool of ideas, a pool of resources. So you're stronger, you're richer in ideas, you're richer in money, you're richer in support, and all of these, in fact, affect your innovation process. So in the search process, the source of the problem, the squeaking wheels and frustration at different departments are where you want to make improvements. And for these ideas, you first look within your organizations, and these are your employees. So in here, I have to make a point that if this is your organization, and this is the market, this is inside, this is out. Sometimes the problem is here and the solution is here. Sometimes the problem is here and solution is here. Sometimes the problem is here, the solution is outside. So the source of the idea, you start with your employees, but you do not stop there. You solve the problems inside the organizations, but doesn't mean that if there is a problem outside, you should not focus on it. So in the search process, you search both inside and outside. Inside the organization, we are focusing now here. You use techniques in order to solve the problems within the organization. You search the solutions inside your organizations. So now we are dealing with inter-company problems. Within your company problem, you create an innovation budget. You communicate the company's strategy to employees. You get the top management involved in projects. You need to train your employees how to work in teams. They need to be receiving workshops on how we can work together. some countries, they learn these things in different stages in life. Still, when you look at companies, very successful ones like BMW, they still receive training on how to work together from outside. So if you don't teach them how to work in groups, they don't know. They cannot do that. So you teach them, and then you expect them. And you create an anonymous intranet so that employees, when they work on innovation projects, they record their mistakes. Of course, they should do that without the fear of being looked down upon. If in your organization the culture is that making mistakes is not a bad thing, sharing a mistake is a good thing, they will do that. But if you look at them, if you frown upon them when they make mistakes, they are not going to report their mistakes. They slip it under the rug. So all of these considerations are there because you want to, when you have a problem in your organization, you want to find a solution to these problems from your employees and from the within of the organization. You want to actually use your employees as very important resources to solve problems. And for this, you need to equip them with certain resources. You need to train them. You need to give them time. You need to give them bonus. You need to appreciate them. You need to encourage them. You need to support them. And when you want to look for the sources of ideas outside the organization, you need to watch the market closely. You find the need in the market, and you watch the competitors in the market, and you talk with your lead customers, the customers which use the type of products you are producing. You link with university research centers, and you have to have all these considerations together in order to understand the problem completely, in order to find the need in the market, in order to talk with customers, to take their recommendations, in order to use the researchers in the university labs, because these researchers are young, motivated. Part of the projects in the universities are financed by the government, and part of it can be financed by your company, so that actually you get a cheap solution, cheaper than private businesses. And by linking all these elements together, you can craft a very good solution and satisfy a new need in the market. For example, in the market, you find that there are poor people who need financing facilities, but when they go to banks, they don't get it there because these poor people do not have collateral. They don't have fat salaries. So the banks do not trust them. So this is a need in the market. This is a very good business opportunity, and you can solve this problem by microfinancing. Imagine that you are in the business of financing institutions. So you talk with these poor people and poor families to understand their needs better, and then you try to find a solution, how you can give them finances with little risks. And if you can touch this business opportunity and find a solution for that, you are making money out of poor people. And normally when you want to get ideas out of your customers, the techniques are when you do focus groups, you invite the key customers. And that's why nowadays, whenever you do online shopping, they keep the databases because they want to know Mr. X, how many computers per year Mr. X buys? Mr. X buys a laptop for himself once a year, changes the laptop for the son or daughter, buys a laptop for his wife. So Mr. X is an individual family member who buys laptops 4 or 5 times a year. There are also companies which buy laptops. So you have to see if you are working on laptops for families or you are working on laptops for business people, you find those customers who are good customers, regular customers, you collect them, you form a group, and you get involved into discussions and focus groups. And customers are the best source of information because they experience the product, they know what are the weaknesses, what are the strengths, they have some imaginations that if it could be like this, it would be better. So they provide you with a lot of ideas. Your job is to search and select. Their job is just to be respected, appreciated, and giving that ideas to you. And it very capital intensive technologies and businesses. Sometimes even before you build the product, you talk with customers. In fact, you are trying to see how much customers are willing to pay you, how much customers' purchase power is, what exactly they want. So sometimes, if, for example, you are building certain trucks for construction companies, you can first talk with customers, get the order, and then build. This is build to order process or approach. This shows how important customers are because they are the ones who finally are going to pay for your product and cover your costs. You can also set up business meeting with other companies and even your competitors to exchange ideas and discuss the challenges in the industry. It is true that they are the companies which compete with you. They don't want you to be very successful, but in some cases they want it that way because, at the end of the day, not one company can satisfy all the market. So companies can compete with each other and at the same time cooperate with each other. And this is what is called co-opetition. In a simple term, you cooperate and compete. But how you arrange these contracts, how you arrange this relationship, it's more complicated than the scope of this course. But I just want to give you the idea that do not look at your competitor always as a competitor. Sometimes your competitor is your partner. And all these mergers and acquisitions happen because of this. Many drug companies, they first compete, but they become partners after all. So you should not always view your competitor as a competitor, but also as a partner. Innovation management versus gambling. For what projects we have the necessary capabilities to support. So when you want to do your own company analysis to select ideas, it's not like gambling. You throw money and you see if you win or lose. There are certain elements to consider. For example, which project has a shorter payback period? Which project is likely to be more successful? Do we need to launch a new brand, or should we stick to the project that can be completed and launched under the same brand? Which projects need the same production marketing infrastructure? For example, two groups of employees come up with ideas. One uses the same marketing tools and its infrastructure and leads to certain amount of profit. The other project requires a completely new marketing plan and marketing platform. And of course, it leads to certain amount of revenues. You have to decide which one is more profitable, which one involves less risk. So you select a project with less risk, more profit. And market research is very important here. As I told you, you have to see how much or how big or how large the potential market is. If there is no market, no matter how strong or modified or how good the product is, it's going to fail. But if there is a big market, even if the product is not that magnificent and wonderful, because there is a big market, you are going to make a lot of sales. Imagine in electronics, you go to the United States, there is a very stifling competition when it comes to electronics. So the market is saturated. No matter how good your product is, or a lot of competitors, the market is fragmented. So your success rate is low. You go to another market and country where there are not so many competitors, where the market is not saturated, so there is a good market. A lot of customers are waiting for the product, and you offer an innovating product, but it's just a marginal improvement, and you sell a lot of that product. So the market is very important. The size of the market is very important. And of course, the purchase power. You have to know that at this particular time, when your product is out, people have enough money to buy it. You do competitor analysis as well. Are our competitors thinking of the same ideas? Are they going to launch a product or service that nullifies ours? Can we compete with our potential competitors over price and after-sales services? All of these considerations lead to selecting one project over another. Also, trend spotting. If the society needs are going to be to the direction we are taking to, imagine you want to commercialize Facebook in a society which is not going toward the social network direction. Or imagine the society is going towards social networks, towards Facebook, Twitter, online social websites. And suddenly you want to introduce a paper-based social network, like an interactive magazine or something. So if the society wants online social network and you want to go towards a physical social network, this is wrong because the direction is different. So your project should be in line with the trend of the society. if society is promoting smoking and is moving toward a lot of people starting smoking cigarettes, and you want to improve an automobile without having a lighter in it, what happens? People don't buy it because you don't have a lighter in your car. I don't care if it's healthy or not. It's a trend in the society. So you should think of the bigger trend first and then decide on your project. Now you want to implement it. Implement your selected project. Can you implement it within your corporate? Do you have enough resources? Or should you form an alliance and join forces and resources? Because you have a good project, you have a profitable project, but you don't have enough resources. But if you form a joint venture, you can do it. Or if this project is a good project, but it's not in line with your company's strategic direction, maybe your company can form a new company, a spin-out firm, and with a new management system to run the business, but with the support of your firm. Maybe this is an option to commercialize this idea. And at the end, you need to capture the profits. We need to think of the best marketing techniques in order to capture the market. You need to obtain patents for your product so that if people copy that, you can sue them. If you have a technology called, if you have a machine, if you have come up with a new copy machine, for example, or with a new, let's say, medicine, and you have a patent in the United States, but you want to sell your medicine in China, and you don't have a patent in China, or you want to sell it in India, and you don't have a patent in India, soon after you introduce your product into the Indian market, they are going to copy your product and they are going to eat into your market share. So you should be aware how you're going to capture the profits of your innovation process. So you first get a patent in India and then introduce your product into India so that you can legally protect your product. On the other hand, you know that if you introduce your new product in China, even if you have a patent in China, they are going to infringe it. They are going to ignore it. Maybe it's better even not enter China, because if you enter into China, not only you lose your market share, but also you lose your technology. They copy your technology, they make it cheaper, they offer it into the market, and nobody buys your product. You also lose your technology. It's a total loss. So these are considerations in capturing the benefit of your innovation. Well, last but not least, successful innovation is the result of a collective activity, is a teamwork. Successful innovation is rooted in networking and teamwork. It demands open communication, no bureaucratic system, no top-down system. It should be open communication from top to bottom, bottom to top, within departments, cross-departments, cross-functions. Successful innovation requires a strong top management support, because in private businesses, it is top management which decides how to allocate resources. So if you have their support, you have a lot of resources. Successful innovation is what customers want. We innovate because someone out there demands our innovation. If there is no market for our product, it doesn't matter how good our product is, it's not going to be successful. So first think of the market, first think of the customer, first think of the purchase power of customer, and then build the product. Thank you very much, and we continue with the next session shortly after this. Well, let's continue with session 4, building an innovative organization and towards a creative friendly workplace. I'm going to talk about building an innovative organization, and next section, which is towards a creativity, building a creativity friendly workplace, is already available online. Innovation, as Steve Jobs says, has nothing to do with how many R&D dollars you have spent on your projects. It's not about money. It's about people you have and how you are leading these people and how much you get it. And by how much you get it is how much really you can understand the value of your people. Like Craig Winnett also says, what we have done to encourage innovation is make it ordinary. So what are really components of an innovative organization? Here we have a list of components introduced by Joe Teed, Besson, and Pavitt. The first is a shared vision, leadership, and the will to innovate. There should be an innovation vision. It's on the strategy level. And this vision should be clearly articulated and shared sense of purpose. A stretching a strategic intent. You should clearly mention what is the strategy of the company, what role innovation plays in that. Are top management committed to that? Yes. Is this vision shared among top management? Yes. But is this vision also shared among employees? And the answer should be yes, because it's like everybody on a ship. If only captain knows where the ship is going to, and all the other people on the deck are unaware of that, what happens? They don't tend, or they are not motivated to contribute to the management of the ship. So employees should know where their ship is heading toward. What is the vision? What is the strategy? So that they come up with ideas which are helping the strategy to be materialized. For this innovative organization should have a very appropriate structure. organization design which enables creativity, learning, and interaction. And for this appropriate structure which enables creativity, we also discuss this creativity in later slides. Not always a loose skunk works, because the skunks work cyclically. Key issue is finding a proper balance between organic and mechanistic options for particular contingencies. So we don't want always a loose skunk works model. We need projects to be clearly prominent, obvious, and obviously supported. We don't want a few engineers work on something in the corner of the organization, and of course, if they're successful, they will make it known to everyone. No. Of course, that might happen from time to time, but we want something obvious, something structured. There are key individuals involved. These are promoters, champions, gatekeepers, and other role models. The people who play critical roles to facilitate innovation projects. And these people are normally people in high power. We need effective team working, appropriate use of teams. No effective team working, no innovation. It's not a one man's job. Not these days. We need continuing and stretching individual development. And by this we mean long-term commitment to education and training to ensure high levels of competence and the skills to learn effectively. Extensive communication should be there, both within and between the organization and outside. Internally in three directions: upwards, downwards, laterally. There is also the issue of high involvement in innovation, participation in organization-wide continuous improvement activity. There is external focus in innovative organizations. Internal and external customer orientation, but there is extensive networking in order to link what is inside organization to outside sources. This doesn't mean that you reveal your secret to others, but it means you are connected to the outside world very strongly. Creative climate, positive approach to creative ideas, supported by relevant motivation system. Even the system, the appraisal system, the motivation system should be very structured in order to have a fair and just motivation system. Not too much motivate someone, not too little. Innovative organizations are learning organizations. High levels of involvement within and outside the firm in proactive experimentation, finding and solving problems, communication and sharing of experiences, and knowledge capture and dissemination of it. So these are all the qualities of an innovative organization. We build them, we have an innovative organization. And this is the table from the new version of the book. I just put it here for your information. So, regarding the appropriate organizational structures, in this book they have collected several examples here about the stereotype organizational structures what are the key features, and what are the innovative implications. The first organization archetype, which is discussed by Mintzberg, is simple structure. These are organizations which are very centralized. Decision making is limited to a very limited number of people. This simple structure is normally good for startups in high technology. These are also called garage businesses. When one or two genius guys start a company and start a very high-tech, for example, product. For example, one or two very intelligent lab students, biology students working on developing a new bacteria, which is good for a certain thing. So the strength of these startups and this simple structure is that they have a very high speed in responding to the opportunities in the market because they are very lean and clean. But the weakness is that there are prejudice. They are limited of resources so that they cannot grow very much. Few people, few geniuses working in a team developing a new bacteria which is good for a specific purpose, but they don't have a lot of resources. Another organizational type is machine bureaucracy. This is a type of organization which is very centralized, but also controlled centrally by systems. Normally, people in this kind of system are like cogs in machine. And by cogs, I mean they have very unimportant responsibilities. This design stresses the function of the whole and the specialization of the parts to the point where they are easily and quickly interchangeable. In fact, the success of these sort of systems come from developing effective systems which simplify tasks and routinize behavior. What is the strength of these kind of systems? These are the systems which are heavily machinized, automatized. The strength is that they have the ability to handle a very complex integrated processes like vehicle assembly. When you want to assemble a car, you need a very automatized, machinized factory. The weakness is that there are individuals. So when you have machines, it's not flexible. You do this at this time with this precision, level of precision. Like, for example, McDonald's. You give your order, everything is automatic. So the person there is also like a machine. Gets your order, put it on the computer, based on certain procedures, using certain machines, an outcome appears. Another system is divisionalized form. It's a decentralized organic form designed to adapt to local environment challenges. It is a system typically associated with large organizations. Examples would be a strategic business unit. You set up a strategic business unit to solve certain strategic issues. A strength of this kind of decentralized departments or units are that a form of, they have an ability to attack particular niches. Or, for example, you have a marketing problem, you want to enter a market, you set up a divisionalized form or a structure, a group of people, work on a specific region in Africa to attack a market. So this is the good thing is that you have the ability and flexibility to really respond to regional markets. But the weakness is there are a lot of internal frictions between divisions and centers because one department is so active, which becomes so different from other departments. So it is so divisionalized. It is so secular that it cannot fit very well with others. There is also professional bureaucracy. It's a decentralized mechanistic form with power located with individuals, but coordination via standards. So this is like the formal R&D or IT or engineering groups, which are professionals, but very bureaucratic. Your technical or engineering background and knowledge is very valued. The strength of this model is that you have a very high technical ability and professional ability to tackle a problem. But the weakness is that there is difficulty of managing individuals with high autonomy and knowledge power because whatever you tell them, they say, you don't understand. I'm a geneticist. I'm a specialist of rocket science. When I want to do it this way, or when I want this resource, when I want this amount of money, that's my choice. You don't understand it. Adhocracy is a project type of organization. It is team-based. So individual skills should be very high. It's like NASA projects. The strength of this model is that when you have a group of specialists, they can very well respond and cope with high levels of uncertainty because they know a lot, and knowledge reduces risks, the level of risk. But the problem is, the weakness here is, they might have the inability to work together effectively because conflict happens. In this kind of projects, people know a lot. They are very autonomous, and this is also very similar to professional bureaucracy. That in these projects, there may be a high level of conflicts among individuals. There are also mission-oriented organizations. The structure is mission-oriented in a sense that it is voluntary and charity organizations. The strength is that in charity organizations, everybody has a mission, and that mission is to give benefit to people. And you don't think of your individual interests. So there is a very high commitment, like you do something for the sake of God. So the ability of individuals to really commit themselves to the work is very high, like feeding the poor in Africa. But the weakness is lack of control or formal sanctions. Because when people are in the project of the United Nations and they want to feed people in Africa, they go there for free. They're very committed. But also it's very hard to tell these people what to do or control them very much because they are driven by internal commitments. They don't care really about the formal structures. So these are basically different structure types which suit different organizations. And it doesn't mean that you have to necessarily adopt one of them in your organizations. These slides just give you the overview of some possible structures and what are their benefits, what type of organizations can benefit from these structures. You can also modify structures and add and delete to them. Components of innovative organization, which I discussed earlier, is about key individuals. And I want to talk about key individuals here because these are the people normally with a lot of power, and they can collect information from various sources and passing it on to the relevant people who will be the best able or most interested to use them. Gatekeepers are normally these key individuals, and they can be maybe a board member who knows about a lot of opportunities and who can really inform the people who are working on projects and tell them, hey, this is the right direction. You are leading towards the wrong direction. Another component of an innovative organization, which I discussed in the very first slide, is a stretching training and development. When we talk about training and development, it has a lot of modes. But what I want to tell here, that the aspect of it I want to touch upon is training and development as essential components to enabling people to take on more responsibility and demonstrate more initiative. So I want to raise the issue of empowerment exercises, because when you empower people, you train people to do something, and when they can do it, you empower them to do it. You put a responsibility on their shoulders. And of course, when you do that, this sense of responsibility makes them think of how to do the job better. Training, not only in the narrow sense of know-how, but also a component of education around a strategic rationale for the change. Know why. So in this type of empowerment, you also tell your employees why they should do something, not only how. And as long as they know why, they can provide a powerful lubricant for oiling the wheels of such innovation programs. Also develop the habit of learning. Learning is a habit. A core element in any learning organization will be the continual discovery, the sharing of new knowledge, and in other words, a continuing and shared learning process. High involvement innovation. Perhaps this is one of the most important aspects of a very innovative organization. It's a good illustration in the book is, the book talks about quality miracle, which was worked by Japanese manufacturing industry in the post-war years, and which owed much to what they call Kaizen. Kaizen is a continuous improvement. Firms like Toyota, Matsushita received millions of suggestions for improvements every year from their employees, and a vast majority of these implemented. It means that employees do not give them crap ideas, they give them very good ideas on how this could happen. Underpinning such continuous incremental innovation is the organizational culture to support and encourage over the long term. So if you want to reach at a stage where Toyota is, where they receive millions of ideas which are worthwhile every year, you need certainly go through a process which is called high involvement practice. So there are 5 stages involved here. As we move up to 5, towards stage 5, we are more involved and the performance is also increased. The first level is what we might call unconscious high involvement employees. At this level, people do help to solve problems from time to time, but they are not aware that they are involved highly in an innovation process. They just try to give you a hand, show them the ideas. This is a very basic level. Level 2, on the other hand, represents an organization's first serious attempt to mobilize high involvement for innovation. Level 2 is where the high involvement innovation model is taken more seriously. It involves setting up a formal process for finding and solving problems in a very structured manner, systematic way, and training and encouraging people to use it happens at this stage. More training, more conscious, more structured. Level 3 involves coupling the high involvement innovation habit to the strategic goals of the organizations, such that all the various local level improvement activities of teams and individuals can be aligned. There is the element of a strategy added here. In here is unconscious, unstructured. In here is conscious, structured, systematic. In here is conscious, structured, systematic, and it's part of this strategy. In order to do this, 2 key behaviors need to be added. What are these 2 key behaviors? Those are the strategy development and monitoring and measuring. So, a strategy development involves communicating the overall strategy of the organization and breaking it down into manageable pieces, objectives, towards which high involvement innovation activities in different areas can be targeted. Level 3 also involves monitoring and measuring. You have to monitor and measure the improvement. It represents the point at which high involvement innovation makes a significant impact on the bottom line. So, at level 3, it is systematized, it is structured, it is linked to strategy, and because it is linked to a strategy, and because it is monitored and measured, here you see the difference in the dollar sign. Therefore, this can be translated into reducing throughput time, reducing scrap rates, reducing excess of inventory, and etc. So the cost is reduced, the time is reduced, inventory turnover is high. It is particularly effective in conjunction with efforts to achieve external measurable standards such as ISO 9000. Level 4 is a movement from level 3. One of the limits of level 3 is that the direction of activity is still largely set by management. It means that in level 3, it is still management very obvious. But level 4, what does is, a lot of empowerment happens. So individuals and groups experiment and innovate on their own initiative. Therefore, by forming cross-functional teams, by empowering them more, they are able to think for themselves. So individuals here think for themselves. This is a very important progress. Management is less obvious here, in a sense that management doesn't give the ideas. Individuals know the strategy here. Individuals have learned how to reduce costs and make bottom line improvements. In here, they themselves are captaining the ship. And level 5 is a notional endpoint for the journey, in a sense that a condition where everyone is fully involved in experimenting and involved in improving things, in sharing knowledge, and in creating an active learning organization. So here in level 5, individual empowerment, inclusion, and contribution is a habit. Everyone is involved. Everyone makes contribution. Everyone is active. The organization is fully learning. Communication is very vast. And they don't repeat the same mistakes because they're very well connected. And this is a very advanced stage. Well, among other aspects or components of innovative organizations are effective team working. Not only teamwork, but it should be effective. It should reach goals. It should hit targets. Experiments indicate that groups have more to offer than individuals, but not only this, they should be efficient and effective. Key elements in effective high-performance team working include clearly defined tasks and objectives, effective team leadership, good balance of team roles and match to individual behavioral style, effective conflict resolution mechanisms within the group, and also continuing liaison with external organizations. All these elements are important in order to have effective teamwork. And among the most important ones, I think it's conflict resolution in multi-functional, cross-functional teams, is effective leadership, and this is the area continuing liaison with external organization. It's where you should really be careful because all the team members should be kept in the current of these external organizational relationships so that they don't feel they're excluded, so that not only whatever team leadership or others try to establish relationships, all the team members should be aware of that, should agree upon this. And this is where we can avoid a lot of conflicts. About a creative climate, a number of writers have looked at the conditions under which creativity thrives. Countries among the writers who provide a list of environmental factors which contribute to stifling innovation. In fact, Hunter says, if you have these symptoms, you are killing creativity and innovation. Dominance of restrictive vertical relationships. The boss says, you do, this is bad. Poor lateral communications, where employees of one department cannot easily connect to employees of the other department. There is a barrier to the communication. Limited tools and resources. You want to do it, but you don't have material to do it. Top-down dictates. Formal restricted vehicles for change. Every change you want to make, that's a very formal process. If you cannot change How are you going to improve it? Improvement is a change by itself. Reinforcing a culture of inferiority. Innovation always has to come from outside to be any good. Unfocused innovation activity. This means that you always ignore the power of your own employees. You always say that if it is coming from outside is good. Neighbor's grass is greener. Not necessarily. Maybe your grass is greener than your neighbor's grass. So here we should put a lot of emphasis and importance on what we can get from our inside organization as well. The culture should be there, the supporting culture. On supporting accounting practices. These are the practices that undermine innovation at house. The practices that do not support innovations. They do not account for innovation activities. What are the external focus? The extent to which innovation has become an open process involving richer networks across and between organizations. So, whether the signals are of threats or opportunities outside the organizations. These organizations have approaches which pick them up and communicate them through the organization. So you need to be aware of threats and you need to be aware of opportunities. The threats you avoid, the opportunities you capitalize in. Therefore, you need to develop a sense of external orientation towards key customers, sources of major technological development, and ensuring that this pervades organizational thinking at all levels are of considerable importance. Therefore, external focus is like you always and constantly watch outside. If you are in the business of international export of your products, if there is a treaty between the company, the countries you are exporting your product, and this treaty is going to put some sanctions on you, this is a threat. But it's also an opportunity because you always read between the lines and you find something new in these sanctions. So you should always see threats, avoid them, and make opportunities out of them. Extensive communication is multi-directional, and it makes use of multiple channels and media. Many problems occur in the innovation process through failures in communication, particularly between different functional elements in the process. So, what are the mechanisms for enhancing communication? Job rotation and secondment. Rotate the experienced people, the key people, so that they get to know what's going on in other departments and they can communicate cross-functional teams and projects. Put the marketing guy next to the engineer. They can learn from each other. The marketing guy learns from engineer the production line. The engineering guy learns from marketeer and market needs. This helps improvement of the process. Policy deployment and review sessions. Have a good policy, but also review this policy from time to time in order to improve your policy. Team briefings. You have cross-functional teams. Put them together, brief them. Multiple media, video, notice board, email, intranets. Use all these communication tools in order to facilitate communication. Now, what we captured here so far is about the components of an innovative organization. Each of these components can be studied on its own, and each of these components are a very vast research area, be it high involvement innovation, which is now taken as employee-driven innovation, which means, for example, all employees, no matter what rank they have, can contribute to innovation process, or be it creative climate. It's not that if you know, for example, that an innovative organization should have these elements, that's the end of the story. You need to work on each of them and see how they work within your own organization. Because if we say key individuals here, we talk about champions, for example. Champions are the people who support innovation projects very affectionately. These are normally important people, board members or top managers who have the power to say that this project should receive resources because it's going to make a difference. So you need to find out who are the key individuals in your organization, what they can do. When you talk about effective teamwork, you have to see what kind of teamwork is more effective in your organization. Do you need more cross-functional teams? Do you need to build virtual teams? What kind of problems need cross-functional teams and what kind of problems need local teams? So each of these elements should be studied within the scope of your very individual sphere. And of course, when you have all these elements, you can increase the involvement of all the members of your organization to a level where everyone contributes to innovation. Level 5 is a level where everyone is very much equipped with all the attributes a very creative individual should have. At level 5, you have employees which are really trained. So you cannot expect all the employees to be engaged in innovation process if they are not very well trained, educated, motivated, and appreciated. Therefore, this is the target, and to reach this target, you need to take into account all the elements and components an innovative organization should have. Well, this session is also over, and the next session will be on towards a creative workplace, where we want to focus on the element of creativity within an organization, where we want to see how this creativity is promoted and how this creativity is hampered. I need to mention that innovation is feeding on creativity, but there is a very big distinction between creative people and innovation. Creativity is a concept, is a quality, is what people carry with themselves. It is the starting point of innovation. The end point are the improved products. The end points are the radical innovations. What happens here is the process of innovation management. This process feeds on creative people, feeds on creative ideas. In this black box, things happen which we studied, like searching for ideas, like selecting among ideas, like implementing these selected ideas, using resources, working in teams, using the knowledge from project management in order to materialize these ideas and finally turn them into innovations. And for this, we need to go back to the very beginning, where the ideas come from, which is the people either inside our organization or outside our organization. In this next session, we are going to talk about the process of creativity on its own. So, if here we have the process of innovation within the organization, we have also a process of creativity on its own. This process involves preparation, incubation, illumination, and verification. By preparation, I mean the individual's mind perceives the problem and explores its dimensions. By incubation, I mean how you take care of these problems. It is like protecting the ideas to the point that they are more clear, they are clearer, they are more obvious, so that you reach the moment when you say, yes, I know what I'm talking about. I know what the idea really looks like. And then you need to verify this idea. It's the stage where creative idea is consciously verified, elaborated, and eventually applied. If you ask me, these two steps are really important in the creativity process, because here the strategies you use to prepare the mind in order to make the fertile land to plant the seed and happen in this stage of preparation. And in the incubation, you take care of the seed just enough so that the seed finds the strength to grow, to become more obvious, to approach the level when you can say, aha, I know it. That's it. That's a very good idea. This is a complete idea. It is formed fully so that you can present it. And this is a very beginning of towards a creative workplace. In the next session, you are going to hear all about creative people, how to make use of creative people, how to enhance creativity within people, and the process of it. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. And as I told earlier, every student needs to prepare a presentation on a topic, either on creativity or on elements or components of an innovative organization, and present it to the class. So thank you very much for your listening. I wish you a very nice night and a lovely weekend. Take care. Bye bye.